Hello everyone, welcome to Being Consultant, a space dedicated to discuss everything about careers in consulting. Today we are going to discuss a very fundamental topic. We are actually going to define the term consultant and we are going to put together that definition based on what consultants actually do on the ground. And that definition is going to help you to understand the criteria that consulting companies use to select the prospective consultant. And it's also going to tell you why consulting companies use these criteria. If you are trying to answer whether consulting is right for you, today's discussion is going to add a great foundation to your thinking. At the same time, today's discussion will give you a broad framework that you can use to self-evaluate whether you are ready for the consulting interview process. With that, let's get into the heart of the discussion and define the word consultant. Consultant is an expensive advisor who solves ambiguous problem and convinces the client of the solution. Let me repeat and also underline some anchor phrases which we will discuss in detail. A consultant is an expensive advisor who solves ambiguous problem and convinces the client of the solution. I have created this tabular framework so that we can have a very structured conversation across all the anchor phrases. At the same time, once the discussion is over, you can actually just take a snapshot of the table and use it for the further reference. For every anchor phrase, we are going to discuss three things. One, what are the day-to-day challenges that consultants face? Secondly, to tackle these challenges successfully, what are the competencies that consultants need to demonstrate? And thirdly, how are these competencies evaluated in consulting interview process? Let's start with the first anchor phrase. Hiring an external entity to solve your problem is always going to be expensive. When a consulting company is hired to solve a problem, it costs the client almost 1.5 to 2 times more than if they would have solved the problem themselves. But still consultants are hired. And that's because the complexity and urgency of the problem. But what it means is that invariably, consultants inherit a firefighting situation. The client expectations are very high and the resources to solve the problem are very low. As a result, when consulting firms are evaluating candidates, they look for candidates who have achieved challenging goals either through academic or professional performance. When it comes to evaluating this criteria, it is first evaluated by the recruitment team at the CV screening stage and again during the fit interviews when your interviewer probes deeper into your achievements. Another competency that becomes critical in high pressure, resource constrained environment is ability to lead the problem independently. Understand that the consulting teams are very lean. A typical consulting team is one manager and 2 to 3 consultants. So every consultant has to take care of a large portion of the project. Every consultant needs to do research, analysis, client interactions almost independently. Yes, the managers will support, they will mentor, but as the project progresses, the independence and ownership is something that is expected out of a consultant. This competency of problem leadership is typically evaluated during the case interview. Solving ambiguous problem. The problems that consultants help solve can be broadly categorized into 2 types. The first one is diagnostic problem, where the consultant needs to find out, for example, why the profitability of a particular company is going down. Secondly, it can be a strategic initiative problem, where the consultant needs to find out whether a company should enter into an XYZ market or not. Now, there are various factors that make these problems ambiguous. Let's just take one out of them for our discussion. The problems that are given to the consultants are mostly very poorly defined and structured. Clients would typically give a very broad objective or broad symptoms to the consultants, and the responsibility of structuring this particular problem falls on the shoulders of the consultant. And that's the reason consultants need to demonstrate a very high degree of problem structuring skills. Now, these skills in the interview process are evaluated in the case part of the interview. Now, bear in mind, case structuring is probably the most fundamental competency pillar, not only for the interviews, but also for the consultant's entire career. And it's also a topic which is very close to my heart. So in the future, I do plan to dedicate several videos just to talk about problem structuring. So stay tuned for that. Another challenge that consultants face while working is the amount of data. Now, invariably in consulting engagement, either there is too much data or too little data. Now, if there is too much data, there is a risk that one might get overwhelmed and get stuck. If there is too little data, then again there is a risk that one might get frustrated and can resort to a gut feel based decision making. Both of these will result into a disastrous solution. In these kind of situation, when consultants find themselves, they really need to use their analytical bent of mind. They need to massage the data, they need to analyze the data, extrapolate, hypothesize, whatever they can do to bring the data to insights. And that's the reason analytical skills are extremely important. In interview process, analytical skills are also tested in case interview. Convincing the client. Gone are the days when consultants could pass the solution as an advice and exit the scene. Today, the consultant's success is very closely tied with the top line or bottom line impact that the client achieves. And as a result, it's not enough for the consultant to just give the solution, but the consultant needs to convince the client about the solution and also sometimes implementation. What makes this convincing difficult are various factors. One of the factors being the seniority and stature of the client itself. Most of the time, consultants work with senior management, and seniority and age a lot of time translates into rigidity and bias. As a result, consultants need to have very strong communication skill. On one hand, they should be good storytellers so that they can engage the client and build a rapport with them. And on the other hand, they also need to communicate effectively in a very top-down manner to convince the client. Communication skills are evaluated throughout the interview process, both in fit and the case part of the interview. Hope this definition is clear to you. Absorb this definition. If you are trying to figure out whether consulting is for you, then go through the columns on the table where we have listed the challenges that consultants face and the expectation that industry has from a consultant. And ask yourself, is this something that you want to do? Are these the situation where you want to see yourself? And if you are already preparing for the interview process, then go through the last column and ask yourself whether your CV is sharp enough, demonstrating the right achievement. Is your interview readiness good enough? I'm sure this exercise will help you. That's it from me in this video. If you found this video useful, do not forget to like and share and subscribe to this channel. If you have any feedback or comments, feel free to write them in the comment sections. I'll respond to them at the earliest. Till we meet again, all the very best.